Okay guys, in this video I'm going to give you some tips on how you can actually simplify songs which either use more than just the four main chords which I taught you, or use different chords other than just the four main chords which I teach you. Alright, so basically what I'm gonna do is I'll go through a few different songs and I'll show you how some things that you can do to actually replace chords, or where you can actually remove chords in order to play the song if you don't want to use the two additional chords which I teach in this course as well, or if you're only comfortable with using the four chords. Alright, so basically we'll start with It Will Rain by Bruno Mars. If you look at the chords here, what you notice is that you have G, which you have learned, you have B minor, and you have A minor, which are two chords which are not part of the four main chords. You have E, which is part of the four bass chords. You have D, which is part of the bass chords. And when I say bass, I don't mean like boo 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 bass. I mean like the basic chords, alright? The standard chords which I've been teaching you. And then you have C as well. But in this whole song, you have B minor and you have A minor. So the question is, when you have a song that has like 6 chords like this instead of 4, what can you actually do in order to play it with just 4 chords? Alright, so one of the things you can do is like these measures are only to sort of like in case of emergency, or if you're just really desperate to play the song. Alright, so it will affect the sound of the song, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to affect the sound of the song so that it doesn't sound completely bad when you're trying to play it and sing it. Alright, so for example, if I were to play through these chords and you just listen to how it originally sounds, I'll let you hear the comparison between how it would normally sound if you played all these normal chords versus if you played it the changed way. Alright, so if we're starting with here, G. Okay, we'll start with G. If you ever leave me, B minor, baby. Then G. Leave some morphine at my door, 'cause it would take a whole lot of medication. A minor. To realize what we used to have, we D. Don't have it anymore. Alright, so that's what it would sound like if you played all the chords. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, instead of playing B minor, what I might do is I might change B minor to D major. Right, so what just so that you can just to make it easier for you to visualize, what I'll do is I'll select that part of and I'll just paste it here in this notepad. So let's say instead of playing B minor, I just change this to D, and instead of playing A minor, let's try replacing it with E minor and E minor. So basically E minor would be playing for quite a long duration up till you play D. Alright, so this is just an experiment just to see what it would sound like. But basically what you can do is you can either replace chords with one of the 4 basic chords, or what you can do is just remove it altogether and just play through. Alright, so I'll let you hear what it sounds like if you had it like this. So starting with G. If you ever leave me, D, baby. G. Leave some morphine at my D door. Then E minor. 'Cause it would take a whole lot of medication. E minor. To realize what we used to have, we D. Don't have anymore. Alright, so that doesn't sound too bad. You could probably get away with that if you just played it like that. Alright, so that's one way that you can actually change the chords so that you use only those basic chords and not the additional chords, because most songs won't have more than 6 to 7 chords. Alright, a lot of songs have 4 chords, some have 5, some have 6, but most songs won't go beyond 7. And even if they have that many chords, you can usually play the entire song using 6. Alright, the 7th chord is usually a special chord which is used to just just add something different to a song. Like for instance, in this entire song, the seventh chord would be this B7 over here, which just makes you sing this particular part in a different way. But you could probably play B minor here, and it would be just as fine. All right. So like, just like the clouds, my eyes do the same. If all right. So you could play B minor here instead of B7. Okay, so that's just one way that you can actually change it. Like you can replace, usually in some songs you can usually replace B minor with D or B minor with E minor depending on the song. But in this case, E minor probably wouldn't sound too good. Like I tried changing it with E minor and it sounded a bit weird, so I find that D generally sounds okay. So with B minor, you can either change it with you can swap it with D, or you can swap with E minor. All right. So and with A minor, you can either replace it with E minor usually, or just or C even. All right. So actually, I'll give that a shot. I might try and replace the A minor with a C just to see what it sounds like. So here, A minor, A minor. So we'll replace that with C just to hear what it sounds like. All right, so now we have G, D, C, E minor, C, D, and those are the four standard chords. So if I were to try and sing through it with this, if you ever leave me, baby, leave some morphine at my door, and C, cause it would take a whole lot of medication to realize what we used to have don't have anymore. Okay, so that sounds pretty good as well. So instead of replacing A minor with E minor, you can replace A minor with C. And in some ways that's actually good, because when you play the chord form on the guitar, the chord form for A minor and the chord form for C major are quite similar. They are quite similar, so you might get a similar sort of sound if you play C instead of A minor. So that's one way that you can actually change the song. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll give you another example. So we're going to go to Don't Stop Believing. So here what you see is basically you have G, D, E minor, C, but then you have, you know, B minor happening here. So if I was just to sing through this verse to let you hear what it sounds like, it would go G, just a small town girl. Oh, sorry. Just a small town girl, E minor, living in a lonely world, C, then G. She took the D, midnight train going, B minor, any, then C, where. Okay, so that's what it sounds like. So here, this song uses about 5 chords, which is this B minor is that extra chord. So what can you do here? So what you could try and do here is, instead of playing B minor, you can play E minor instead. And so what I'll do is I'll just copy that section, paste it into the notepad. Alright, so here G, D, E minor, C, G, D, B minor, C. Okay, so instead of playing B minor, I'm gonna change that to E minor, and we're gonna try that again just to hear what it sounds like. Okay, so starting from G, you have just a small town girl, E minor, living in a lonely world, G. She took the midnight train going, E minor, anywhere. Okay, so it's she took the midnight train going anywhere. Okay, so that sounds fine as well. So instead of playing B minor, you can play E minor here, right? And that sort of just is just repeating the first line. Okay, so that's another thing you can do. Let's see. There was one more. All right, so these are just like the last two that I showed you. These are examples of songs which use more than just the 4 chords. So they have like the 4 standard chords plus more chords. And so what you're trying to do here is you're just trying to change the standard, the additional chords into standard chords, or remove them altogether. All right, so first thing you can try and do is you can try and change them. Try using different chords, the standard chords, to replace them. And if that doesn't work, what you can do is you can try and just remove them altogether and just play the chord through to the next standard chord and just see how it sounds like. So that's what you can do if you have songs that have more than just the 4 standard chords. So all right, so one more example. Let's say you have a song where it's not just it has the standard chords, but it also uses, let's see, this one uses everything. I don't think there's a G in this song. Alright, so you have E minor, you have B minor, you have D major, you have C major, and then you have this, this additional chord B7, which just sort of shows up for that particular part. And yeah, so alright, in this entire song, which is Rolling in the Deep by Adele, it has 3 of the 4 standard chords, which are E minor, D major, and E minor, D major, and C major. And then it has B minor. It doesn't have G major, all right, in this song. So what you want to do here is you have B minor, and you want to try and possibly change that to a standard chord. Okay, so if I were to play through it, just to let you hear what it sounds like at the moment, with E minor and B minor, D, B minor, D. So let's say start with start with E minor. Try and get the key. Starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, bring me out to dark. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, bring me out the dark. Finally, can see it crystal clear. Alright, so that's E minor, E minor, B minor, B minor, D, 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 B minor, B minor, B minor, D. Alright, so here we have B minor and we have B minor. So what do we do to actually try and change the song so that you can play it with just the 3 of the standard chords? Okay, so one thing you could try and do is you could try and replace B minor with D. So you could change that to D, and play through, or you could change that to E minor and change that to E minor. So what we're going to do is we're going to experiment with both. I'm just going to copy that and paste it into the notepad. Okay, so here we have E minor, B minor, D, B minor, D. So let's say, for example, we change this to, let's start with E minor, and we change this to E minor. So what you're essentially doing is you're playing E minor here longer. It's as though you just removed the chord altogether, and here you've changed B minor to E minor. So if we were to play it through, just to hear what it sounds like, so you'd be, there's a fire starting in my heart, D, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see it crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out, and I'll lay your shit bare. Okay, so just listening to that, it's become quite clear to me that E minor just doesn't work here. It just doesn't sound right. So if that's the case, what you might want to do is, instead of putting E minor, the other alternative for B minor is usually D major. So what you can do is you can change that to D major. So what you can see, what we've essentially done here is we've removed B minor and we've stretched out the chords so that they just carry through. And to make that clear to you, I'll just take a copy of the original chords and I'll just paste it here. Just make it easier for you to notice. This is original and this is modified. so the first thing we tried to do is up here we removed B minor, so we're just playing E minor through. And here what we've done is we tried to replace B minor with E minor, but it just sounds weird. So what we're going to try and do now is we remove the B minor, we play E minor straight through, and then here we remove the B minor, and then we play D straight through. Alright, so now we're going to try it that way and just to see how it sounds. So you have E minor. There's a fire starting in my heart, D, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. And then back to E minor. Finally, I can see it crystal clear. D, go ahead and sell me out, and I'll lay your shit bare. Dun 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 dun. Alright, so that sounds pretty good. You could actually just play E minor straight through and play D straight through. So in this instance, what we've done is we've just removed the additional chord, which is not the standard chord. B minor and A minor, I just like to remind you, shows up fairly frequently. When there are additional chords in songs which use songs from the G key, usually there will be B minor and A minor, or variations of these chords, alright? And these variations can usually be played using B minor and A minor, alright? So that is why I've actually added those two extra chords in the course for you to learn, so that instead of having to go through this trouble of modifying each song so that they're simpler and you can play it with 4 chords, you can actually just learn the chords and just play through, right? And what that does is it actually gives you a much wider range of songs that you can learn. Not just 4 chord songs, you can learn 6 chord songs, even 7 chord songs if you want to, all right? So it's just by learning these 2 extra chords, all right? So B minor and the A minor chord. All right, so I guess that's pretty much it with the example. So it's basically trial and error. The 3 options that you generally have when it comes to modifying songs which have additional chords like B minor and A minor, or even like B7, is you can either remove them, replace them with a standard chord like E minor or D, or yeah, that's pretty much it. You can either remove them or replace them. Those are the 2 things you can do. Alright, so just try that out, and generally what you find is the song may not sound precisely the same, but it usually sounds good enough that you can just play through. Alright, so that's a tip on how to actually simplify songs so that you can play them using only the 4 standard chords.